broken. It must have fallen. And I don't know which way the batteries go. This was open. How do you open this? That's it.
It's not so warm. It's comfortable here.
No, but it's going to be for warm days. How are we going to make it work here?
We'll cross that bridge when we come to it.
I came early by accident.
Well, we're
I didn't
learning.
know you were going.
What?
What?
We're going to learn the passage in the Talmud about the destruction of the temple. So,
Where'd you get the
what?
the slippers?
No,
They're very interesting.
Here.
Yeah. I don't know, Walmart or Dollar General.
They're right. Huh? Yes. I have it. They go a certain way. Huh? Which way do they go?
So,
You ever hear the novel Abraham?
Avraham ben Avraham, yeah.
You
Ben
read that
Avraham
novel?
ben, I heard of it. I don't know if I read it. It was
It's an excellent novel.
about the Grab Potapsky, how he was
What?
a ger. It was a nobleman in Europe
Right.
who converted to Judaism.
Right.
And he was burnt at the stake. Because
What?
he was burnt at the stake because he wouldn't recant his Judaism.
Something like that.
Yeah.
Maybe I didn't finish the book. I don't know.
Yeah.
We'll find out. I saw it on the table, broken. Okay, so it's in here, the spring over here. So this.
But he helped Jews
Yeah.
Not help you, not.
early in the
This
book.
goes like
Yeah.
this, no, with the spring, with the other side.
So the
Right?
Goyim were after him.
Yeah.
When it's in there.
They chased him throughout Europe, and
Yeah, he tried to hide. And,
Kaput.
yeah, it's a good book.
No,
yeah.
no, the metal is okay, except the spring is not here.
Can we get another remote? Or
Well, you're gonna have to get something because it's gonna get very hot. In the weekend, I don't know.
The
spring
Jews
fell out.
were not allowed
You
to
found this on the floor?
walk on a certain street
I got it open.
in Poland. They called it the, I don't know.
yeah.
See? You see the spring here?
Yeah,
It's not that fell out.
We're gonna. All right, we'll start learning. We're on.
I'm gonna
Get
be in
the-
and out. I'm officially on duty
Yeah.
or whatever. Steve was not.
Maybe the Rav wants to come down for sure. Oh, he's asleep.
It'll take half hour.
Is he fasting?
No, but he's on a feeding.
He has a feeding tube, so
Yeah.
then it's considered he's fasting.
Okay.
I don't know. I'm saying he's. I hope he's not fasting. That's all.
No.
All right, let's start learning. So we're on Nun Hey Omid Beis and Gittin. I took out the Gemara Gittin. Gedalia, you have the Gemara? Thank
Huh?
you have the Gemara?
Now listen.
Okay. So there's a halakha here of the Sikri Cone. The Sikri Cone was during the Roman occupation of the Holy Land. They would threaten Jews, the Romans, certain very very violent Romans. They would threaten Jews with death if they wouldn't give them their land. So it says like Haya Sikrikum Yehuda Baruge Milchama. So the law of the Sikri Cone did not apply in Judea when the people were slain as a result of a war. But once the people were killed in the war, there was a Sikri Cone all over Eretz Israel. Sikri Cone it's
What are the secret cone?
so it says, so like I said, a Sikri Cone was a Roman who would kill Jews, but then he would say, if you don't want to, he would threaten them and say, if you don't want to die, give me your land. So this was the war that General Titus made when he destroyed Jerusalem. So once after the war, after the destruction of the Beis Hamikdash, so then all over Eretz Yisrael there was secret cones. So then the question is, what do we do now with that land? Once someone stole the land with threat of murdering them, how do we get it back? So Ketzad, what do we do? Lokach mesikra kon. So a Jew buys land from a secret cone from this Roman who took the land from another Jew by force. Chozav lokach mi balabayas. So he should, but then he goes and he finds out who the original rightful owner was, and he pays the owner. Meaning, first he paid the Roman, and then he pays the Jewish owner that the Roman took it from. Mikachai batel. It doesn't count for anything. The land belongs to the original owner because it was taken by force, and it's Jewish land. It always was. But if he originally bought it from the original owner, and then he went back, and then the secret cone took it, and then, so meaning he found out who the original owner was, right? And so first he pays the original owner, and then he pays the secret cone, then he owns it. So similarly, this really maybe is not for Tisha B'Av. We should skip that if one took from the husband and then he took from the wife who had a lien on the land, the acquisition was void. But if he first paid the wife, meaning the husband owed the wife money from the ksuba, like alimony. So then, at first he paid the husband, then the wife. It doesn't count. But if he paid the wife first and then the husband, then it was a good purchase. So Mishnah Rishona, based in Shalachrei Mamru. So this was the first teaching, but later they taught it. But later on they said no. If you buy from a secret cone, from this Roman who stole the land pretty much, or extorted the land, you pay the original owner a quarter, and then he could keep it, at least just to keep the land in Jewish hands. But that's only when the original owner can't afford to buy it. But if the original owner has money to buy it from the secret cone, then he has the first dibs on that land. Rabbi Hoshiv based in Nimnushim Shasa Mipnei Secret Cone Shnei Maser Chodesh Kol Kodem Likach Zachal Vol Neisen Labala Rabbiya. And then later, Rebbe said, if you can buy, if land belonged to secret cone for 12 months, any Jew who can buy back the Jewish land, should get it, and it's his, but he still should give a quarter of the price to the original owner just to get it out of the Romans' hands. So the Gemara says, Hashta b'haruge ha'milchama le'haya b'sikri kon, that when Jews were being killed from the war, there was no law of secret, meaning the law of secret kon is what we described. Meaning there were secret code, there were these Romans, but the law didn't apply. Meharuge milchama le'yesh b'sikri kon. But then after the war, because Jews were killed in the war when the temple was destroyed, then this law applies. Amar of Yehuda. So what does it mean? This happened probably more during the war than after the war. Why is the law only applying after the war? Amar of Yehuda. Rav Yehuda says, "Laidanu ba din sikra kon kamar." What it means is that the law of the secret cone of what we said, that if you buy it, that you first have to buy it from the owner, that doesn't apply during the war. Excuse me. Damar Rav Asi. Rav Asi said, excuse me, Shalosh Gezeres Gazru. Titus, when he went to destroy the temple and made the war, against the Jews, he made 3 decrees. Gezer Kamaisa, the first decree was Lekato Leklutuhu, that if a Roman doesn't kill a Jew, whenever he can, he should be killed. Mitziasa, the middle one was called the Kato Laite Arbazuze. Whoever kills a Jew has to pay money, according to it's usually learned, of 4 little coins. Whereas the Tosfos Rid learns it the other way. No, that he's rewarded for the Romans would reward any Roman who killed Jews these 4 coins. Basraisa called the Katul Klubtuhu. And then at the end they said, if you kill a Jew, you'll be killed. So meaning first they wanted to kill the Jews, then it's not clear whether they wanted to or didn't. And in the end, they didn't want to kill the Jews. Hilkach Kamaisim and Siyasa. So the first and second ones were during the war. Kaven de Kotle, because the Romans could kill Jews and not be worried about any kind of retribution. Agav Unse Gemar Machne. So then the secret Konim would come and say, wait, you want us not to kill you? Give us your land. But in the end they said, they would say, take the land because we'll make a court case and be able to get it back. So Amr B'Yechanan. So now we're discussing the story, for example, when the Romans made the war. B'Yechanan said, Maidechsiv, what's written? Ashrei Adam Mefachet Tomid. Happy is a person who's always afraid. He makes his heart so he shouldn't fall into evil. That's in Mishlei, in Proverbs 28:14. So what does it mean? That a person should always be afraid, meaning he should be afraid not to do sins and not to fall into doing evil. So the first story is the one we know, very well. Kamtza Bar Kamtza Chavar Yerushalayim. Because of Kamtza and Bar Kamtza. So the word Kamtza means a grasshopper, but it was somebody's name. And then Bar Kamtza was his son, apparently. So because of Kamtza and Bar Kamtza, Yerushalayim was destroyed. And because of a rooster and a hen, the king's mountain was destroyed. Ashakar the Rizpak Charav Beitar. And because the side of a carriage, Beitar was destroyed. So then the Gemara tells these stories. The very famous story of Kamtza Bar Kamtza Charav Yerushalayim. Because of Kamtza and Bar Kamtza, Jerusalem was destroyed. Hahu Gavra Derachme Kamtza Valdevavi Bar Kamtza. There was a certain man who was friends with Kamtza, and he hated Bar Kamtza. So Rashi says, Kamtza Bar Kamtza Kachshem Shnei Yehudim. This is the name of 2 Jews, and Rachmei Kamtza, Evahai Shmei Kamtza. His friend was named Kamtza, and his enemy's name was Bar Kamtza. Abad Sutsa. He made a suda, a meal, a party. He was apparently he's a wealthy person who had. He told his butler, "Sal Aisili Kamtza, go bring my friend Kamtza." Also Aisili Bar Kamtza. The butler made a mistake, and he brought over Bar Kamtza, his enemy. So the party started already. The host was fashionably late. When he comes in, he sees Bar Kamtza there at his party, his enemy. Amalei said to him, look, why is this guy who's the enemy of this guy, meaning you, who's my enemy, what are you doing here? My boy Sacha, what do you want here? Why are you here? Kumpuk, get out of here. Get out of here. Amalei. So Bar Kamtza was embarrassed. He said, Shavkan, I'm here already, just let me stay. What's the big deal? And I'll pay. You're not going to lose anything. I'm going to pay for whatever I eat and drink don't worry. I'm going to pay for it. I just don't want to be embarrassed. So now we're on Nun Vav Amud Aleph. We're on 56a. Amalei. So the host said to Bar Kamtza, no, get out of here. Amalei. So Bar Kamtza said to him, I'll do even better. I have money. I'll pay for half of this party. This way, you're going to make some money having me here. Amalei lo. He said no. Amalei yahivna lach to make hula sudasech. So then Bar Kamtza said, please don't embarrass me. I'll pay for the whole party. This will be a nice. You're gonna be very successful here. You're gonna have a free party for all your friends. Amalei lo. He said no. So he picked him up with his own hands and threw him out. Did the bums rush? Didn't even have a butler do it. Didn't have a bouncer. He did it. He was mahader after that. He did it himself. So Bar Kamtza says, there were rabbis sitting here. These are men of God. They should know better. Why didn't they come and stand up for my honor? Why didn't they rebuke him? That wasn't nice. You don't treat someone like that. So it seems that they were okay with it. Now the Maharsha says he would have it would have made bigger problems. They knew this guy. They knew he wouldn't be able. They wouldn't be able to do anything about it. So Azil ve'echel behu kortza be'malka. So this Bar Kamtza, he said, we feel bad for him first. He was treated so badly. He wasn't such a good person. He should have just let it roll off his back, right? Instead, and not only that, so he could have taken his revenge on this guy, but instead he blamed the whole religion. This is what happened many times in our history. There was the Cantonist decrees, right? When in Russia, the Russian government under the Tsars in the 1800s said the Jewish kids, they have to be drafted into the army, and the whole point was that these children should give up their religion. That was the plan of the Tsar to destroy the Jewish people, was to draft the children into the army so they shouldn't have any Jewish education. So many of the rabbis, they had influence, and they were able to get exemptions from the draft for their own children. So when the Balabatim, the regular people, saw the rabbis were getting exemptions, it made them, they said, why their blood is redder than our blood? Why do the rabbis' kids get exceptions and we don't? And that's a big reason why before the communists came even, why many of the Jews in Russia started to be anti-religious was because they saw the rabbis were looking out for their own kids, which you can't blame them. But that's a problem with them too. Meaning it's not just, of course there was an issue with the rabbis, and we blame the rabbis too, but the bigger problem was that they didn't look at it more charitably on both sides. Why didn't they put themselves in their shoes? Think what would they do if they were in their shoes and they were able to do that. So the same thing here in this time. Bar Kamtza, he said, I'm going to go and make some lashon hara, some slander against the rabbis, against the Caesar in the king's house. Azal Amr Leila Caesar. So he went and told the Caesar, Mardu Bach Yudoi, the Jews rebelled against you. Amalei Miyamar. He didn't believe him. Who told you this? So Amalei Shadar Lahu Kurbana. Chazisi Makarvanle. Go offer a sacrifice to the Jewish God in the Jerusalem temple and see if they will bring it. See if they're going to offer it in the temple. Now the law is a Gentile may send a burnt offering, even if he worships idols, he may offer a sacrifice to the Jewish God, whether it might be for political expediency, or he has a certain theological flaw, but he still thinks, that he offers something to this Jewish God. He might believe in his own gods, but also say, well, this isn't my God, but he did me a favor, he did something good, I want to show, or he wants to curry favor with the Jews, whatever it is, he's allowed to do it. It's a very interesting halacha there. Satmar brings, incidentally, the pasuk, the verse in Leviticus, in the Vayikra, it says, Ki Yaakov Adam Mikem, when a man from you brings a sacrifice. So the halacha is as follows, as we said, a Gentile who worships idols is allowed to bring a sacrifice in the temple. A Jew who is an apostate, a Jew who leaves the Jewish religion and worships idols, or mixes his religion with other religion, is not allowed to bring a sacrifice. He has to repent first before he can bring the sacrifice. The question the Satmar asks is, what about a ger who's choser l'suro? A convert, he was born not Jewish, he converts to Judaism, he's a Jew, and then he goes back to his folly, he returns back to idolatry, whether his previous religion or different religion. What's the din? Is he considered like the Jew who worships idols and he cannot bring the sacrifice? Or is he considered like the Gentile who worships idols and can bring the sacrifice? And he says the halacha is once he converts, he never goes back to being a Gentile. And so even if he goes back, even though he was born not Jewish, he's Jewish now, and so he is judged like a sinful Jew who is not. So he's on the lower level, just like the born Jew who worships idols is on a lower level than the Gentile who worships idols. So to the convert, if he gives up Judaism, he's on a lower level than the Gentile who worships idols. He cannot bring the sacrifice. It's just an interesting side point, and how important it is, and the power of tshuva, though, to come back. So, Ozol Shadar Biyodei Egla Tilta. So the Caesars gave Bar Kamtza one of the best types of animals, one of the most expensive animals. It's called a third calf. Whether it's a 3-month-old, 3-year-old, or it's a third born, it's not exactly clear, but there's something about the Egla Tilta is the most expensive cut of meat. Not the cut of meat, it's the whole animal. So Bahade Kase, so Bar Kamtza was bringing this animal to Jerusalem. Shada Beimuma Benib Svasayim. Amrila Bedukim Shiva Ayin. So what did Bar Kamtza do? He cut in their lip, or some say made a cataract in the eye. Duchta delididon habimuma ludidhu lav mumahu. So there's Jewish law and there's Gentile law as far as sacrifices. The Jewish law of sacrifices is much stricter than the Gentile laws of sacrifices. That applies even within Torah, meaning today, according to the Torah, a Jew is not allowed to bring a sacrifice because we have no temple. A Gentile, to this day, is allowed to bring sacrifices to the Jewish God, meaning the God of the real God, the God of the universe, even on a private altar.
I know.
There are people, B'nai Noach, right, who keep the Sheva Mitzvahs B'nai Noach. They believe in the Jewish faith, but did not convert to Jewish religion. Doesn't have to keep Jewish law, but they share our faith. And some of them to this day bring sacrifices. I know a guy, Roger, lives out in Williamsport, Pennsylvania. He actually went to Shiloh, and he built altars there and brought korbanos of doves as a korban ola, and he's allowed to do it. But he doesn't have to go to Shiloh. He could do it in his own backyard in in Williamsport, Pennsylvania, also. So, for a Gentile, the main thing is though it shouldn't be. He should bring a nice animal. Like if he's bringing a bird, the bird can't be missing a wing, can't be missing a foot. But if there's some minor blemish, it's okay for him to offer as a sacrifice on the private altar. And in the Roman law, when they were bringing to their own lahavdil, to their avodah zarah, they had similar ideas. That if they're offering to Jupiter a sacrifice, it couldn't be missing a limb or something. But if there was some small blemish in the eye or in the lip, they wouldn't care about that. But for us, our laws of what was offered in our temple had to be perfect. And so, if that news got back to the Caesar, he wouldn't understand. What do you mean? Why can't you bring the sacrifice? It's still a good cow. So it has a little blemish in the lip, who cares? Or a little thing in the eye, who cares? It's still a beautiful animal. So Savra Banla Karove. So rabbis understood though, this is going to be problems if we don't offer it. Maybe we should offer it as a sacrifice. Mishum Shalom Malchus. Because we want to keep peace with the Romans. We're subjugated to them. And we have to follow their dictums. And we don't want to make them upset. That's an important thing. You know, the same thing. There are certain people who think they're going to go up now Har Abayis, but it upsets the Arabs. It's not a mitzvah to upset the Arabs. We're still in Gullus. We have to do things. Even if you think it's a mitzvah to go up to Har Abayis, it's not a mitzvah to upset our enemies. So Amalhu Rebbe Zechariah ben Avkulis, or Zechariah of Avkulis got up and said to them, Yom Balimum Kraven Gabim Mizbeach. People will hear what happened, and they say a blemished animal could be brought on the altar. Everyone's going to want to bring a blemished animal. Why do you even want to bring a perfect animal if you could bring a blemished animal? So Savra Mikhle. So they said maybe we should kill Bar Kamtza so he doesn't bring the news back to Caesar. Then he won't be able to tell what happened. Amalahu Rabbi Zechariah. So Rabbi Zechariah says, oh, you should kill someone just for damaging, putting a blemish on an animal that was sanctified for sacrifice. But the thing is, that's not why they're killing him. They're killing him because he was a roidev, right? He was threatening the whole Jewish people. Many people got killed because of him. So if someone is trying to kill you, you kill him first. So but Reb Zechariah ben Avkulis, he had all these arguments back and forth, and and that's the way we often are. We don't want to come to a clear decision, and so we bring up these different points. So recently, right, there was a story. There was somebody. He was sentenced to life sentence in Idaho for killing very mercilessly, horribly murdering people. And the family, they were very upset. Why did they offer him a plea bargain? He should have had the death penalty after what he did. That type of thing. And sometimes people, we think too much. Recently. So I'm saying, and that comes from that same type of anivus. Rabbi Yochanan said, because of this, the humility of Rabbi Zechariah ben Avkulis, this that he couldn't figure out, he couldn't make a strong decision. He was like, let's look at both sides of this issue, when it's really not an issue to look at both sides of. That destroyed our house, meaning our temple, it burnt our sanctuary, and it caused us to be exiled from our land. Because he shouldn't have brought up these issues. There's a Torah from Rabbi Yitzchak Barditchever about Ber Chafru Asarim, that it says the nobleman, it says in Parshas Chukas, the nobleman dug a well. So the Berditchever says like this. It seems like at the end of the Torah's Chasam, it seems like this is what he's saying. there are certain people who look at the big picture, and certain people who only see what's in front of them. And he says, the Sorim, the noblemen, they look at the big picture. And so when the king makes a decree, they're not going to question the king, because he knows that even if it's causing pain to people in the short run, but in the long run it's going to be good. So you don't argue with the king when he makes a certain decision, because he has a big picture in mind. But sometimes you have to dig out from under the Sorim, that they should be lowered under and see the small picture. And that's how we should pray. We don't always look at the big picture. Sometimes we should look at that small picture and see, this is causing pain right now, we have to do something. And the same thing, sometimes we're too heavenly minded to be any earthly good. So Shadar Levayo Lenir and Caesar. So the Caesar Nero came to go attack Jerusalem. This was before he became the Caesar. Kikase, when he arrived, Shada Girul Mizrach Asanafav Yerushalayim. He wanted to see what was going on. He did something along the line of a test that was sort of an oracle. He shot an arrow to the east, and the wind came and fell on Jerusalem. Lamar of Yerushalayim, La Baruch Hashemayim, Asanafav Yerushalayim. He shot it west. It came to Jerusalem. He shot in all four directions: north, south, east, west, up, down there. The wind came and brought it to Jerusalem. Amale Leilianuka. So he came. He knew there's a Jewish tradition that when you ask a child what verse from the scripture are you learning, it's a type of a prophecy. So Amale Leilianuka. He saw a young Jewish boy and tell me, which verse in the scripture are you studying right now? Amalei. So he said, Yisrael. There's a verse in Ezekiel 25:14. I will take my revenge against Edom through the agency of my people Israel. Meaning that even though God sent the Edomites, which is the archetype of Rome, to attack the Jews, they will still be punished for it. Samar. So Nero said to himself, God wants to destroy his temple, and he's going to wipe his hands on me? So he saw he didn't want to be involved with this. So what did he do? He ran away and he converted. He became a Jew. And Rabbi Meir, the great Rabbi Meir Balanes, was a descendant of Nero. Some say that's what they say, right? Nero fiddles while Rome burns. That Nero, that they said he went crazy. According to the Romans, how did he go crazy? Because he became a Jew. So Shadrei Ilavaihu Panyanus Caesar. So then the Caesar sent Vespasian Caesar, who was not yet the Caesar, but eventually would become the Caesar. So he came to attack the Jews. So he besieged Jerusalem for 3 years. There were 3 wealthy men in Yerushalayim who were able to maintain the city. Nakdim ben Gurion, ben Kalva Savua, ben Tzitzis Akesis. Those were their names. Nakdim ben Gurion, ben Kalva Savua, and ben Tzitzis Akesis. What were their names? So Nakdim ben Gurion, it's a famous story told elsewhere, the Gemara in Tainus, Shenokta Leichama Bavuro, that he was offered to pay. He had to pay a loan in order to help the Jewish people. He had to collect it before the sun set, and the sun stood still for him, but it was cloudy. So the person who he owed was owing the money. It said, well, it's too late, but then the sun shone, the clouds dissipated, and the sun was out, so he was able to collect the money and so forth. And so a miracle happened. So that's why it's called Nakdimon, because Nakda Lo Yachama, that the sun was opened up, the clouds opened up and showed the sun. And Kalva Savua Shekol Nichlas Avesik Shuroyev Kekel of Yotik Su Saveya. And Kalva Savua means the son of the full or satisfied dog. What does it mean? We know dogs are very hungry animals. Like I have pets at home, little lizard, and I had one lizard that died this week, and then so I had two lizards, and I have one lizard and one tortoise. And sometimes you give them food, they don't eat it. You throw a bug in there for the turtle, and the turtle is supposed to eat salad. Sometimes they eat, sometimes they're hungry, sometimes it's not. Why? Because they're animals that don't need to eat very much. So same thing. Certain types of snakes, you'll throw in for a ball python. You throw them a mouse. Sometimes they eat it, sometimes they don't. A dog, I don't have dogs at home, but in the prison where I work, so there's dogs. One of the guards, they had a food truck come last week, and he had a nice dinner, and he was sitting down to eat. And in the next room was his dog. One of the inmates was training a dog for seeing eye dog. And so he had this dog, and he brought it with him to the class that he was at. And the dog ran right over when he smelled the food, because the dog is always hungry. So it says, Kshuroyev Kakelev, he's hungry like a dog, Yotzik Shusaveya. You'll leave happy, because this was a very generous person he had a lot of money, and he loved to feed people. So you would always feed all of his guests. Anyone could come in and you have all the food you want. Ben Tzitzis a Keses, and then there was another wealthy man named Ben Tzitzis a Keses, meaning the son of the tzitzis on the pillow. What does it mean? Tzitzis in the grass, like sasos. That when he walked, he would have his butlers surround him, holding pillows, so that his tzitzis wouldn't drag on the floor. So the fringes. Or another explanation of his name is that he had a cushion of a seat among the Roman nobles, that if he wanted to have audience with the emperor, he was wealthy enough, the emperor would always be happy to see him. So Achad Amar Lahu, so these were three rich men. So one said, Ana Zayni Lo B'chite V'sarei, we want to keep Jerusalem alive through this siege. Because eventually, they're trying to kill us, they're trying to destroy our city, but as long as we have food in the city, we'll be okay. So I'm going to make sure there's wheat and barley in the city. And the other one said, okay, I'm going to pay for the whole city for wine, salt, and oil. And the other one says, I'll have wood, so they can have firewood, so they could cook all these foods, right? So when the rabbis heard about the one who says wood, he said that's the most valuable one. Rav Chisda would let his servant his butler have all of the keys to everything in his whole treasures, except for the storehouse of wood. That he would keep the key to himself. Because if you have one storehouse of wheat, what good is the wheat if you can't bake it into bread? So you need 60 times the amount of wood for how much wheat you have. So Havlul Amazon Esther Mechadshata. These men were so wealthy, they could have sustained the whole city of Jerusalem for 21 years. Havabuhu Hanhu Bar Yoneh. You had these people, they were called the Bar Yonim. Often it's said that these were the zealots. They wanted to make war with Rome. They were so excited to finally, go out to war. They didn't care. They wanted a war. They were like, military-industrial complex. So, Amr Lahu Rabbanan, Nepuk V'napik Shlom V'dayu. So the rabbis told the Bar Yonim no. Told the zealots, let's make peace with the Romans. Lo Shavkunu, but the zealots wouldn't let them. Amr Lahu, the zealots said, Nepuk V'napik Harabadayu. No, we want war. Let's go make war with the Romans. We'll take back Jerusalem. Amr Lahu Rabbanan, Lemistaya Milsa. The rabbis knew this won't succeed. So what did the zealots do? They burned down all the storehouses, the wheat, the barley, the wool, the wood. So there was a famine in the city to encourage the people to go fight. So Marsa bas Baisus atirta Jerusalem Hava. There was a woman named Martha, the daughter of Baitus. She was the wealthiest woman in Jerusalem. She sent out one of her workers, said, go get some flour, go get some bread. And when he went to the bakery, it was all sold. Asamala, Samida, Leka Chivarta Ika. So he said, there's no very fine flour bread, but there's regular white flour bread. So go get it. By the time he went back, because he's going back and forth, he should have just bought it. He shouldn't have.
Why did he wait?
Yeah.
Just go buy it, right?
Well, he needed to have his matron, permission. So we went back. It was sold already. Asvamala. So she said, Chivarta Leka Gushkoika. There's no white bread, but there's whole wheat bread. So go get it. And Zazel was stopping. Again, by the time he came back, there was no whole wheat bread either. But he said there's still barley bread. So go get it. Bring it to me. It was too late. When he came back, there was no barley bread. She wasn't.
Why don't you just tell them if they don't have it, get whatever there is,
Yeah.
That's the mindset.
So he was being very proper, he was
proper, under the circumstances.
and that's the same problem, people they stand on ceremony when it's not that, there's a time and a place for everything.
Right, it's like this is a famine. What are you doing? You're thinking a little too OCD here. That's the right word for it.
So Hava Shlifa Masana Amra Epuk Vechsei Mashkacha Midim Lamechel. So she was so hungry, she didn't even bother to put on her shoes. She went out barefoot to go see if there's anything to eat. Esav lay part of the Kara Mesa. So she stepped on some, animal droppings, and she was so sickened that she stepped with her own foot without shoes, and the animal droppings, it sickened her so much she dropped dead. Karalei Rabban Gam Yochanan Zakei. So Rabbi Yochanan Zakei says the scripture talks about this. Haraka b'chov anuga asher l'nitzah kafragla. So in Deuteronomy, in Parshas Kisavo, when it tells about the tochacha, it says that there's a very delicate, pampered woman among you. Never put her foot on the ground, and she will have all kinds of suffering and things. So
maybe that was the word, that she was so sensitive that the servant didn't want to give her anything other than just,
Yeah.
She's like, she was allergic to everything.
Yeah. So Ikad Amr Groigris to Rebbe Tzadok Achla, this Vintis Nisa Mesa. But some say no, she actually did find some food. They were dried figs that she got from Rebbe Tzadok, and she got sick from them and died because she never had food like that. Rabbi Tzadok Yosef Arbinshnin B'Tanisas L'Yech of Yerushalayim. What is this? Why did Reb Tzadok have dried figs? So he said that he fasted for 40 years, praying that Jerusalem should not be destroyed. So if he ate anything, you could see he was so thin, the food going down his throat. So when he would eat, mice like gregors, they would bring him dried figs. So even though it was dried, there was still a little bit of liquid in it. So he would suck out the whatever juice was in there and throw away the outer casing of the fig. So that's what she ate, was what he had thrown out. That's what she found. Ki hava kanaycha nafsha apikta lechol tahava v'kaspa. This Martha, she was dying. I guess she was able to get back into her house or something. She took all her gold and silver, shadisa, and threw it out in the shuk, in the market. What do I need this for? Take it. That's what's written. In Ezekiel chapter 7, verse 19, as the temple was destroyed, he said they're going to throw their silver out into the streets. So, Abba Sikra, Reish Bar Yonah Yerushalayim, Bar Hasid Rebbe Yochanan Zakai. It's very interesting, you know. Just like today, you might have different people. One person could be a very great rabbi. He could have a relative who's a no-goodnik. So there was someone, Abba Sikra, he was the leader of the Zealots in Jerusalem. And he was Rabbi Yochanan ben Zakkai's nephew, from Rabbi Yochanan's sister's son. Amalei. So Rabbi Yochanan ben Zakkai, he wanted to try to get a message out to his nephew. Come, let's meet in secret, you know, like we'll meet, you know, with the Watergate when they met and under the news reporters met the guy. I'm not going to mention the nickname he used, and they met in the underneath the parking lot, and they went, you know. So Abba Sikra came, the nephew who was the zealot. He came to Rabbi Yochanan. What are you doing? How long are you going to act like this? You know. So you're going to let the whole world die in starvation because of your nonsense that you want to make a war. You're trying to liberate Jerusalem from the Romans. You're upset at the Roman occupation, so you're going to let all your people die of starvation. It's the same thing, even though I don't believe a lot of the stories that coming out of Gaza, a lot of things they're probably exaggerating. They're known to be liars there. But nonetheless, look at how stubborn they are. They think they're going to... Now, first of all, Israel already gave Gaza to them 20 years ago, right? And they want to liberate it, so they're holding on to hostages and letting their own people starve, or it appears, or that's what they're claiming. Here, the Jewish people were starving because of these zealots who were so stupid. They're like, oh, we're going to liberate Jerusalem from the Romans, so we're going to let all these people starve to death just so we liberate. And the rabbi said, no, let's make peace. So Amalei Abba Sikra, the zealot, said, my Eved, what should I do? It's the same thing. Unfortunately, it's the same issue that they have there with Hamas. They're all scared of each other. They'll kill their own people quicker than anything, and so too there was the same issue with the zealots. Even though Abba Sikra was a leader of the zealots, if he doesn't follow the crowd that he belongs to, the same thing with the gangs, right? Or different groups. Remember Malcolm X, he left the Nation of Islam, he became a Sunni Muslim, and the Nation of Islam killed him because he became a Sunni, right? So even though he was their leader, right? And the same thing. and we see it. I know I work in the prison. There was one guy. He was a leader of one motorcycle gang, and he had their tattoos. And then he became a leader of a rival gang, and he was at the tattoo parlor to get those tattoos covered up, because if he still had those tattoos, they'd kill him. And then someone came, because he wasn't fast enough, they wanted to kill him, and he beat him up, and he went back to prison. He beat up the other guy who was trying to kill him, even though it was self-defense. He didn't want to rat him out, so he went to prison for another year or two for that. That's the kind of, that's what, that's the difference between the Torah world and the world of violence. The rabbi said, let's make peace with the Romans. They knew who the Romans were. They knew the Romans were evil. They were idolaters. They were murderers. They were all kinds of evil things, murderers they did. But still the rabbi said, let's make peace with the Romans. But the zealots said, no, we're going to make war. We're going to liberate Yerushalayim from the Romans. So it says, Amalei. But the thing is once you get involved with these chevra, it's like the mafia. You can't get out, right? That's what they said, right? What the guy said about here. Once you get in, you can't get out. So Rabbi Yochanan said, we'll figure something out. Find a way to get me out of this city. And my phone is here, so don't move the ständer. My phone is here live streaming. So,
Making a video. Oh, he's making a video for himself?
no, people are watching now. People are watching live.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, after the Habi at Solapurta. So, Rabbi Yochanan ben Zakkai said maybe there'll be a little bit of salvation. Amalei, so Abba Sikra said, Nekoit nafshech b'ksirei. He figured out a way. He said, make believe you're sick. Right? Like a kid doesn't want to go to school, right? So, Rabbi Yochanan, make believe you're sick. And everyone's going to ask, oh, Rabbi Yochanan's sick? And take some rotten meat and put it so they smell something bad and they'll think you died. They'll say you died. And let your students take your coffin out. But don't let anybody else carry, only your own students. Because they won't feel that you're light. Interesting. A lot of people said that there's a certain measure of the soul. I forgot do you remember what the measure was? Certain number of ounces, that when the soul leaves and that the body is lighter, and they were trying to measure it. The Chazal say the opposite.
Shrinks.
A living body is lighter than a dead body. Why? Because it's not that it's actually lighter, but the living body, when you carry, will move to make it easier to carry. But the dead body doesn't move, so it's harder to carry. So the anu yadi the chai kol mesa, because the zealots know that a living person feels lighter than a dead person, for the reason we said. Abid hachi, so he did like this. Nichnas by Rabbi Eliezer mitzadach and Rabbi Yeshua mitzadacher. So who were his small bearers? Eliezer and Rabbi Yeshua. So when they were about to leave Jerusalem, the Baryonim, the zealots, wanted to pierce him with a sword to make sure he's really dead. Amalei Yom Rabban Dakru. Abba Sikra, who was the leader of the zealots, said, wait a second. The Romans are going to say, look, the Jews are piercing their own rabbis, then that'll lead to them mutilating Jewish bodies even more. So they said, so let's at least push him to see if he makes a noise. So what? The Romans will say they push around rabbis? So they let him out. They opened up the gate of Yerushalayim. The zealots let him out. Kimata lahasam. So Rabbi Yochanan ben Zakkai got there. Shalom alech malka, shalom alech malka. He said to Vespasian, greetings of peace unto you, O king. Greetings of peace unto you, O king. Amalei mechayav trei katola. Vespasian said, you're liable to 2 death penalties. Chadalav malka and malka. I'm not a king. Why are you calling me a king? You're insulting the real king. Vesubi malka ana adhidna my losses likabai. And if I am a king, why didn't you come see me earlier? Samalei the kamat lav malka ana. So first I'll answer your first question. You say you're not a king, Ibra malka, but you're going to be king. Ilav Malka At Lemisrin Yerushalayim Biyadach. Because God would not let Jerusalem fall to anybody but a king. As it says in Isaiah 10:34, that the Lebanon, meaning the cedars of Lebanon that were used to build the temple, will fall onto a mighty one, and when it says someone, Adir, a mighty person, it means a king. Because it says that the strong one will be stronger than him, Jeremiah 30:21. So it means the king. In Lebanon, in the base of Mikdash, and when it says Lebanon, it means the temple, because in Deuteronomy chapter 4, verse 35, it says this good mountain and the Lebanon, meaning the temple. Malka Ana Amai Laikasis Lagabai Ada Idna. So Yochanan, he asked Vespasian, he tells Vespasian, you're asking if I'm a king, why didn't I come earlier? The zealots wouldn't let me go. The zealots among us wouldn't let me go. Vespasian says if there's a keg of honey and there's a dragon guarding it, once you break the keg to scare away the dragon, Ishtik, Rabbi Yochanan was quiet. So he said the same thing. He said you should have destroyed your own city just to get rid of these snakes, these zealots. Sakali Rabbi Yosef B'Tem Rabbi Akiva. We have a minion yet, or
Yeah,
it's already time. So
8:40.
all right. So what did he answer? Rabbi Yosef Rabbi Akiva said, "Meishiv chachamim l'chamadatim yisakal." Such a dangerous thing. He didn't have an answer. Even wise people can be fools, as it says in Proverbs. In Isaiah 44. This is what he should have said. All right, it's a Sunday morning quarterback, right? Take tongs and get rid of the snake and kill the snake with and you save the honey. Eventually, whatever they called Vespasian to become the ruler. But one thing he asks is Tainli Yavna v'chachameha. And so Rabbi Yochanan, even though the temple was destroyed, he saved the Jewish religion with this story.
Monday morning.
That's right. Yeah. Rabbi Yochanan,